welcome to a new episode of Airport Update here from Philadelphia International Airport. A lot has changed in the world over the last few months, and that has of course also impacted operations here at Philadelphia International Airport. Now all terminals are again operational, given that most destinations are again being flown to here from Philadelphia, although passenger numbers are abysmal and frequency therefore also have been significantly reduced. Then we have of course also seen the final retirement of some aircraft types like the 767 and 757 with American Airlines or the 717 with Delta Airlines. Other changes are of course also that American Airlines actually now has a strategic partnership with JetBlue. What exactly that will entail we will see over the coming months. And another airline that American Airlines is cooperating with is Alaska Airlines, and Alaska Airlines will even join the One World Alliance from next year on and is already preparing to move its operations from Terminal A to Terminal B. And so the first aircraft of today's episode that we will take a closer look at is in fact a 737-800 of Alaska Airlines. The aircraft came in earlier this evening from Seattle and is now in pushback and will be heading back out to Seattle in Washington State. Then an airline that is picking up operations here at Philadelphia Airport is Frontier Airlines, that came in about 45 minutes from Orlando, is now being prepared for its next flight going out to Fort Myers in about 15 minutes time. The aircraft is still taking on some last luggage and passengers are boarding the aircraft, but it should be leaving fairly soon. Then we have an Airbus A321neo of JetBlue Airlines that came in from Boston and is being prepared for its next flight going out to San Juan. The aircraft has still about 15 minutes until pushback, but due to low passenger numbers the turnaround has been rather quick and the aircraft is actually ready for pushback. Then a new airline here at the airport, and that is Caribbean Airlines, which came in from Port of Spain with the 737-800. The aircraft is currently in the middle of its turnaround. The aircraft is scheduled to return to Port of Spain at around 20 minutes to 8 in the evening. And then we have a 737-800 of United Airlines that came in from Washington. This aircraft still has about 45 minutes until its next flight, which will bring the aircraft to Denver. And then we also have a little bit of activities over at our Terminal A extension, where we find this A220-300 of Air Canada. The aircraft is today flying between Philadelphia and Toronto and will be leaving with a little bit delay, but the aircraft is now pretty much ready to go. The air stars needs to be removed and then the pushback truck is ready to push the aircraft out of the ramp. And then we have this ERJ-190 of JetBlue that came in from Nantucket and is now being prepared for its flight out to Boston. This aircraft is just taking on the last luggage and then it will also be ready for pushback. It will definitely be interesting to see what the strategic partnership between JetBlue and American Airlines will mean for the JetBlue activities here at the airport in the future. And then the last aircraft here at the extension is this Bombardier CRJ-900 of Delta Connection that today is being deployed on the route between Philadelphia and New York JFK. The aircraft still has about 45 minutes left here at the airport, which explains why it is still rather calm around the aircraft. So it's definitely nice to finally see some activity again here, both at Terminal A and the Terminal A extension. But what is also nice is actually to see some activity around our airport hotel, which of course also has been impacted by the crisis throughout the year, even to the point where the hotel had been closed for longer periods of time. Now the hotel is once again open and it is really nice to see some life returning to that part of the airport. But now let's head over to Terminal B to see what's going on over there. And over here at Terminal B, we do luckily also find quite a bit of activities despite really bad passenger numbers. And we, for example, find the 737-800 of American Airlines that came in from Chicago. The aircraft is right now being prepared for its flight to Tampa, but the aircraft will be delayed as there had been some disruptions with delivering the luggage to the aircraft. Now, the aircraft could have left on time, but then having disgruntled passengers in Tampa arriving without the luggage, so the captain decided to simply wait for the luggage, given that it would be the last flight of the aircraft anyway. And then we find this Airbus A321neo of American Airlines. This aircraft came in earlier this evening from Cancun and is right now being prepared for its next flight going out to Las Vegas, but there is still plenty of time as the next flight is only scheduled for 10 minutes to 9 in the evening. It is also only just the first luggage and cargo that is being loaded right now. Next to the Neo, we have another A321neo from American Airlines. This aircraft came in a few minutes ago from Boston and is right now being offloaded. The refueling has not started yet as the aircraft is still deboarding, but as soon as the last passengers have left the cabin, the aircraft will be refueled and then being prepared for its next flight going out to Los Angeles. And then we have this Embraer J175 of American Eagle. This aircraft came in from Toronto a little bit earlier this evening and is now slowly being prepared for its next flight, which will bring the aircraft to Indianapolis. So now let's head over to the international part of Terminal B to see what's going on over there. Now taxiing past the terminal right now is this Boeing E3C Sentry AVEX. Now we don't know exactly where it came from or where it will be heading out to, or let alone when it will be heading out again. So I guess we can just be happy that we actually got to spot this very rare aircraft here at the airport today. And then we have this Boeing 787-8, the Dreamliner of Japan Airlines, that is operating flights between Philadelphia and Tokyo Narita. The aircraft came in at about 25 minutes past 6 in the evening and will be leaving at 1:30 in the morning. Japan Airlines being one of the few airlines that actually has pretty much throughout the entire year maintained international flights to and from Philadelphia Airport. Then we have an American Airlines 777-200ER finally back again with some international flights. American Airlines, this aircraft came in this afternoon from Milan Malpensa. The aircraft was supposed to go out to Frankfurt in Germany this evening, but that flight has been cancelled, so now the aircraft is waiting here in the ramp for reassignment. And then we have this Airbus A350-1000 of Cathay Pacific, of course, coming in from Hong Kong at about 25 minutes ago. Right now the aircraft is being offloaded with luggage and passengers are still deboarding the aircraft, but catering is already getting ready to start loading the aircraft for its flight back to Hong Kong, and the fueling truck is also already there, although of course both fueling and catering is still holding off until the aircraft has been completely deboarded. Terminal C had been closed for many months, at least when it came to passenger traffic, so it's really nice to finally have some PAX traffic going on over here, although also here the passenger numbers of course are very low. But the first aircraft we find over here is this Boeing 787-10 of Etihad Airways that has pulled into the A380 gate. Of course, at the moment there are no A380 operations at Philadelphia Airport, and it is very doubtful if we will ever actually get that back here at the airport, but we will see what the future will bring. So for now we just have to make do with this Etihad Dreamliner that of course is being prepared for its return flight to Abu Dhabi. Now the corona crisis is of course creating quite a bit of chaos in the industry. Lufthansa used to fly with the A380 here to Philadelphia. That is now scrapped. Also, for example, the airline used to only operate the A350 out of Munich, but at the moment, because of many aircrafts being in long-term storage, the airline sent this A350 from Frankfurt just to be able to operate the route. The aircraft will, however, not be returning to Frankfurt, but is right now in pushback for its next flight, which will bring the aircraft to Berlin North Airport, the airport of miniature airports. The aircraft will be flying there on a promotional flight, and also for the airline to test out procedures to see if Berlin North Airport could be a future potential intercont base for the airline. If you would like to see the aircraft arrive at miniature airports Berlin North Airport, then follow the link in the video description below. And then waiting here on the taxiway right now, hoping for the Lufthansa to leave very soon, as it will need to go into the ramp where the Lufthansa is coming out right now, is this A350-900 of Scandinavian Airlines that of course has arrived from Copenhagen. So as soon as it's able to pull into the ramp, it will of course start its turnaround and then will be prepared for its return flight back to Copenhagen, scheduled for about 25 minutes past 11 in the evening. And then in the ramp next to where the Lufthansa is going out, we have this Airbus A330-200 of Brussels Airlines making its debut here at the airport. This aircraft of course arrived earlier in the afternoon from Brussels, and it will be returning to Brussels again. Of course, right now the aircraft is being loaded with luggage, and catering is also at the scene, and the aircraft is also being refueled. Also quite a bit of activity we can find over here at this Boeing 787-10 of KLM in this lovely centenary livery. Also here the aircraft is currently being loaded with luggage, and catering is at the aircraft as well. The aircraft is scheduled to leave the airport for its flight to Amsterdam Schiphol Airport at 15 minutes past 9 in the evening. And with that, let's head out to the remote stands to see what's going on over there. Now, during the height of the crisis, air freight, of course, was an essential part to not just keep the airport running, but also Philadelphia and the region. But now, with more passenger aircraft back in the sky, much of that capacity is, of course, again being handled by passenger aircraft. But some pure air freighters are still needed to bring in goods for this city. And so we find this 747-8 of Airbridge Cargo, which came in from Moscow. The aircraft is now resting here on the tarmac and will remain here overnight. Some very first activities are starting to pick up, but of course there's still plenty of time, as the aircraft won't be leaving back out to Moscow until 10 minutes past 5 in the morning. And then we have this Airbus A320-200 of Mexican low-cost carrier Volaris, which is a new arrival here at the airport. The airline is starting up a route between Philadelphia and Mexico City. The last few passengers are right now boarding the aircraft, and the aircraft should be leaving in about 10 minutes. Could get a little bit tight, but if at all delayed, it will only be with a few minutes for its flight back to Mexico City. Now, during the crisis, American Airlines has been forced to do some quite significant changes to their fleet, retiring quite a few aircraft types, one of them being the 757. This aircraft type, however, is being replaced by the A321neo, and such an aircraft we find here, which has just arrived from the Airbus factory in Hamburg-Finkenwerder. The aircraft is right now just being taken care of by American Airlines technicians after the long flight over the pond from Hamburg in Germany. And then the last aircraft of today's episode is this CRJ-900 of Air Canada that has just arrived from Toronto, and it will be staying here for just under 1 hour until it then will be returning again back out to Toronto in Canada. Now with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this airport update, then don't forget to leave a like. That really does help us out. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? That would be absolutely awesome. With that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.